Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon, and we're back on PTCGO because the new set has been released there, so I've managed to pick up some Mewtwo's quite early on, which is pretty good because I feel like they're going to be playable, and because today we have another build of the Mewtwo variant, and that's going to be with metal type attackers, as you can see, and using Bronzong to help set them all up. So let's jump straight into it. We have 3 of the Photon Wave Mewtwo. This is probably the best one, seeing as though we don't have Psychic Energy in the deck. Photon Wave is actually usable for just a Double Colorless, and that's obviously more important than the other one. So it's all about this Mega Mewtwo EX. 210 HP is kind of okay. Psychic Infinity, we know it's going to be fantastic. 10 base damage plus 30 more times the amount of energy attached to both active Pokemon. So with DC on board, or 2 metal, we are hitting for 70, and then we can increase that with metal links, and of course our opponent is more than likely going to have energy on them if they fancy attacking, which normally Pokemon decks do that. So Psychic Infinity normally in and around the high hundreds, sometimes even pushing into 1-hit KO range if we start stacking up Mewtwo quite high. So it's very awesome. And this deck seems to be slightly slower than other Mewtwo builds. It looks to sort of two-shot things in the early game, and then when you're sort of two-shotting with your active, you're stacking energy on the bench for your second Mewtwo to come and take in your final like 4 KOs. So that's pretty good. As long as they can't one-shot Mewtwo, we're going to have a pretty good time with this guy. He's pretty strong. So supporting him, we have just some of the new Bronzors, 10 more HP, so definitely worth picking this one up, because you're a bit more survivable against stuff like bats, which are being played, and also stuff like Lucario, which can attack on the first turn. You want to have a bit more survivability. This forces the combination of Muscle Band and Strong Energy, whereas before they just needed either one of those 2 things. So extra 10 HP, definitely worth the trade-off for the higher retreat cost, definitely. Yeah, we do have the 3 Bronzong, of course. I'm happy with a 3-3 count. We don't necessarily need to set up all 3 in a game. Getting 1 to 2 to stick, just to get extra attachments here and there, is absolutely plenty. So Metal Links is going to be fantastic for this, setting up Mewtwo's in the future on the bench, and our other tech metal attackers that we are playing, so Metal Links very important there. For our techs, we do have 2 Heatran. It's pretty much the best metal non-EX beat stick that we have. 130 HP is pretty nice, keeps out of range of Giratina and Mega Man as well, so that's pretty good. He also has the attack Steam Blast for 130, so we can actually one-shot things like Gengar, which could also be an issue for this deck otherwise. So that's a pretty good attacker, especially because it has that resistance to Psychic. It's very good against Gengar, because if they're not placing counters with bats, you can sometimes, like if they're attacking with something like a Deoxys, which is quite possible for that deck, I see that as a partner potentially. That resistance could come in handy as well, so it's good to note that resistance. So overall, Heatran's pretty good. Also good for like non-EX matchups like Night March or Vespiquen. Being able to trade non-EX for non-EX really helps us stay in the game as best we can, really. So 2 of those. Additionally, we have 1 Aegislash EX. Aegislash is really in here for Giratina, because of course Mega Mewtwo can't attack into it without the use of Hex Maniac. So we're going to use that Mighty Shield to absorb any damage from Giratina players, because they're more than likely going to be using Double Dragon, let's be honest. So Aegislash are very good there. And again, it can also help out against, you know, your Vespiquens, your Raichus, your Night Marchers, where really your Mega Mewtwo can sometimes be one-shot, and you're always going to be sort of doing way too much damage with the Mewtwo. Aegislash is much more efficient in that manner, because he has the Mighty Shield and forces stuff like Hex Maniac from the opponent, which can be quite awkward. So yeah, 1 of those in here. For the supporting cast, we have a couple of Shaymin to keep us drawing pretty much. And we also have 1 Hoopa. It's just fantastic for mega builds. You just spend 1 Ultra Ball to pretty much set up your entire board. It's pretty awesome to have it in here. It really helps out. And we do have the bench space. Like I say, we don't need to flood the bench of Bronzongs. We need to get 1 or 2 to stick in the game. So we have the space for Hoopa and a Shaymin and stuff like that. So overall, I'm very happy with the Pokemon count at 18. And let's move on to the trainers now. We have a couple of Switch. Pretty much everything other than Shaymin has a 2 retreat cost or higher. So we need to have a lot of switching in here. And obviously Switch can help us do that. We also play the Floatstone that's back in format, so I'll get onto that momentarily. So 2 is fine. Playing 3 Trainer's Mail to get us into different things, basically, keeping us ticking along. I really like it. It's a good consistency booster overall. Because we are playing over half the deck, as you can see, is Trainers. We have plenty of options with Trainer's Mail to look for. We're playing 3 Compressor. One of the great things about the Metal deck is we can play the Compressor VS Seeker engine so that we can dump Metal energy for the Metal links, and we can also dump our Techie supporters. You can see we play quite a few different ones in here, so dump those. If we have VS Seeker in hand, we can search them out when we need them, so absolutely perfect. And it really helps thin the deck out as well, in general. Next up, we're playing 4 Ultra Ball, pretty standard. I've said how strong it can be with Hoopa. It's also going to help us search out the Bronzong pieces. Additionally, it's another way we can dump metals to help our metal links out as well, so overall fantastic. We are playing the maximum 4 copies of VS Seeker. It just works wonders with Compressor, and the fact that we play so many different techs gives us great options throughout the game. Some of these supporters then, we do have 1 AZ. It's another way that we can move our dudes, so with the combination of AZ and 4 VS Seeker, we essentially have 4 more switches, which is very important because we can sometimes be caught in the active and just stuck there for a little while, so having the high switching count, the Floatstones and AZ makes me a lot more comfortable with this deck. Also, it can be a means of healing. It's kind of painful getting rid of Double Colorless sometimes on Mewtwo's, but if they really are struggling, we can use the AZ to move into maybe a different attacker, and it also means that if we discard Metal energy, we can reattach them with Metal links, so that can be helpful there. We are playing 1 Hex Maniac. It's in here mainly for Giratina, but it can also help out against stuff like Gengar. It stops them dropping bats for a turn, which might help you get a knockout on a Gengar. And we know when there's 2 stage 2s in a deck, it's kind of awkward for them to keep flooding the field. It's also really good against stuff like Magnezone EX, not EX, just regular Magnezone, from flooding the field of energy, stuff like that. There's a lot of abilities right now, and Hex Maniac in the deck is very helpful for that. We do have to be careful. We need to place our Metal links when we want, and this deck itself is actually quite weak to Hex Maniac at certain points, so we do have to be careful using it, but normally you can play around it quite easily. We are playing 1 Pokemon Fan Club as well. It's pretty much the first thing you look to discard with Battle Compressor, along with some Metal energy. Definitely for the opening turns, because you can combo with VS Seeker to get multiple Bronzor, maybe 1 Bronzor, 1 Hoopa, and then pretty much you get going from there. So it's another out into Hoopa, which pretty much sets the whole deck up. We're also playing 1 Birch. It's just to have the option of Shuffle Draw. I've been thinking about switching this out for a Judge even, for a slight disruptive factor. For now I've stuck with Birch just for some Shuffle Draw, if we don't want to discard and draw with Sycamore, of which we play 4. We all know why he's in here. Dumping and drawing 7 is really strong, just for the most powerful draw support, for digging basically. And finally for supporters, 2 Lysandre. Again, it's quite self-explanatory, we know why it's in here. Sometimes we might have to get around something like Giratina, or get around something like Regice to start punching other stuff in the face, but in general, Lysandre's going to help us just take off finishing KOs and stuff. So for tools, we are playing 2 Floatstones, so happy this is back. Often a target is going to be Bronzong, so we will slap a Floatstone on him, so when one of our Pokemon dies, we can go into Bronzong, and then we have our full bench available to get Metal links onto, basically. So that's very helpful, and in general, anything that you start with that's a little bit dodgy, like a Heatran or something, you might want to just attach to get out of there, so we can start punching people in the face with Mewtwo's. So that's pretty awesome. Finally, we are playing 3 of the Mewtwo Spirit Link. I think 3 is probably the perfect number. We're playing 3 counts of the Mewtwo itself, but because we have backups in the form of Heatran and Aegislash, you're not too worried if you have to discard 1 early or something like that. Normally 2 Mewtwo is going to be enough for most games, so the 3 Spirit Link is an absolutely fine number. Finally for energy, quite self-explanatory as well. DCE, maxing that out of course, works so nicely with Mewtwo to pay the cost, and it can be a plus 60 in a single attachment, which is pretty nice. Obviously it works well with Heatran as well, and it can be used to retreat stuff like Hoopa or Bronzor and stuff like that as well, so we've got to max this out obviously. And then we are playing the 7 Metal Energy as well, because we can recycle it with Bronzong, as we know, to get more attachments. Pretty self-explanatory as well. 7 is a decent number, I think. It's not like we need to go super crazy, but we do have enough to get big attacks with Aegislash and Heatran, so I'm pretty happy with those numbers overall. So that is the deck, and let's jump into a game. As we all know, it's been updated, and I don't think many people are a fan of it, and I myself am not a big fan of it either. But I guess if you want to see a battle, you're going to have to endure the poor animations and stuff. But here we go. We have a game against Smash 22. And we are going to see an epic coin flip of a Lucario coin. He's going to call it at some point. It also seems like there's a lot more lag with this as well. I don't know why. It could be all of these animations and stuff, but who knows. Let's see if he actually wants to call this coin. Otherwise, it's going to be quite boring. Let's give him a little nudge here. Yeah, he's done the coin flip. We'll go first. So yeah, this is the new layout. I think there's good and bad sides to it, really. One of the worst things is that you have to like double click stuff now, which is a bit of a shame. Also, this really annoys me, the prizes thing, and the energy thing annoys me, and the tools annoy me. A lot of things annoy me about this new setup, to be honest. So we have a pretty decent start. I'm going to toss this Ultra Ball out here, and I'm going to discard Metal Energy. And I think I'm going to get rid of both. And looking for Hoopa more than anything here. If Hoopa's prized, I might... Ah, okay, we do have Hoopa. So let's grab Hoopa. And straight away we're going to go for a Scoundrel Ring here. And I'm going to find 1 Mega and 2 regular pieces of Mewtwo. So far we've only seen a Zubat from our opponent. So I feel like getting the Mewtwo pieces out, although they are Psychic types, which Mewtwo can be weak to, they're not normally the main attackers anyway. So I'm going to put Floatstone on the Heatran, on the active. It's really annoying that it shows just the tool icon. It can be quite distracting and quite difficult to judge. Also, this is really annoying that you have to drop and place the Shaymin. Come on. There we go. We can draw 3 cards. And all we get is AZ and Switch. Not too good. We do get an energy though. I feel like attaching to Heatran puts some pressure on here. But seeing as though we don't have Double Colorless, I'm happy to go to Mewtwo as well. So we could AZ just for Shaymin for an extra 2 cards. And what we're really looking for here, mainly Spirit Link and Bronzor, I think. Or maybe a supporter for next turn. We do find Spirit Link, which is nice. I think I'm actually going to hold it, just in case we're going to get hit with anything ugly. So we'll pass it over now. We potentially have... Well, we've already got 30, 40. We've got 110 damage going into next turn, I think. 360. No, we have 100 going into next turn, if our opponent doesn't attach anything. So our opponent plays Level Ball for Hoopa, and then plays a Super Scoop Up, trying to move the Zubat, it looks like. He does go into the Hawlucha. Then we see a Strong Energy go on to Hawlucha, followed by a Sycamore. Our opponent's going to draw 7 cards. Another thing that really confuses me, like, in tournaments you're not allowed to put your prizes like this. And in tournaments you're not allowed to do your discard pile and deck like that either. So it's really weird that the actual official company went to do that sort of thing. Really, really weird that they've done these things. Okay, so we are going to attach Double Colorless, Spirit Link, Mega Evolve, ta-da. And we're going to VS Seek back that AZ to try and get 3 more off of this Shaymin. Again, we're still looking for Bronzor mainly is something we need. Also, something like a Compressor would really be helpful here. It looks like we just hit another Spirit Link, but we do get Sycamore for next turn, which is nice. So here we can retreat out somehow. So it looks like we have to actually click on the Heatran to retreat. That's really annoying. Normally, like, there was a little sideboard thing. So and now we can use Psychic Infinity. The animations, you have to admit, are cool, but It's really annoying having to play it. Oh, okay, so they've made some change that you actually get to pick one. So they have made some changes from last night when I was playing, but nothing too dramatic. We see a level ball from our opponent for a Golbat. Then we see an evolution. Let's see where this sneaky bite's going to get placed. It does go onto the active. We then see a super scoop up, which does get a heads. So they're going to get another chance at using sneaky bite if they wish. They can rebench that Zubat. We do see another evolution into Golbat. Again, going on to the active, starting to threaten Mewtwo a little bit. Then we see a Birch's observations. Our opponent gets a Tails on that. Plays down a Lucario. Obviously it's weak to Psychic, but Mega Mewtwo's attack is not affected by weakness, so that's not too bad for him. We see a retreat into that Lucario, and we do get hit with a Missile Jab for 70 damage, increased by the Strong and the Stadium, of course. So, here we can put the Spirit Link on board. So far we're doing 3, 6, 9, 12, 130. Is that right? 3, 6, 9, 12, 130. Yeah. So, I think something like... It's really annoying that these things jump up. I am going to play Switch just to go into Heatran before we use Sycamore, I think, here. We do have quite a few important things in here. I don't want to play the Mewtwo just for bench space. I want to get some more Bronzor developed. So, we do hit Mega Mewtwo, which we can slap down here. We do have Compressor, but I kind of don't want to play it just because I want to use Ultra Ball instead, so that we can get Bronzor going. So there is Bronzor. I'm going to slap him down. So this will be 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. We do have knockout with this Mewtwo, which is awesome. Even though it is quite damaged, I'm absolutely fine with bringing him up, especially because our opponent used Birch and only got one card left in hand right now. So we can smack our opponent in the face for 190. And we get to take 2 more prizes. Really going ahead in this game. So we got ourselves a Spirit Link and a Compressor. Not too helpful. But let's see how our opponent can get out of this situation. We see another Birch from our opponent. This is a big flip. He unfortunately gets a Tails. Let's see if he still gets like a Shaymin or something from it. He could recover from this. Otherwise, he's in a bit of a spot here. And this is basically what Mewtwo's trying to do. Trying to put your opponent at awkward spots. And yeah, our opponent just scoops. So, good victory against Lucario Bats. Showing off the new layout as well. Let me know what you guys think. What's the worst thing about the new layout and what's the best thing about the new layout? If there is any positives you can draw, I'd love to hear from you. So, hope you enjoyed this deck. Back on PTCGO, getting those battles involved as well. So, it's been Joe from OmniPoke, and I'll be back with new XY on breakthrough decks in the near future. So, hope you all enjoyed, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.